So Elizabeth Warren was doing a rally at Washington Square Park. Rebel HQ were there to ask a few Warren supporters why they choose Elizabeth Warren over Bernie Sanders. And before I say anything, let's just take a look.
I wanted to ask her supporters, why her? Why not Bernie Sanders? If it's really just on policy, those two are closest. So why support her over the further left, more democratic socialist version in Bernie?
I think Bernie's message kind of resonated with everyone at first, and she can kind of carry the torch farther than he can with others different demographics and supporters and things like that. So I think she has a more of electability factor than Bernie does this time around.
So I believe in her in my heart and soul. I understand the Bernie supporters, I get them. But Elizabeth is my heart and soul because I feel like she's really speaking to what I've been through. And I'm still a capitalist. I still believe in markets, but I believe in rules and regulations. Like everything she believes in, I really do believe in.
I like Senator Warren because she has, her slogan is, I have a plan for everything, but also she talks about getting rid of the filibuster, which I think is very important because nothing will be passed if you don't get rid of the filibuster because we'll never have enough votes in the Senate to get anything passed. And I just think she's so smart and she's awesome. I just love her.
I like Bernie too. I think a great ticket would be her and Bernie, but that's too much to ask.
She's not my candidate yet, 100%. I like Pete Buttigieg, but I like her. I like that she has a plan.
All right. So it's between her and Pete Buttigieg.
Oh yeah, but also maybe even Amy Klobuchar and Cory Booker. I'm not even close to picking one person yet. But if I'm gonna go for somebody like on the left side of the spectrum, it's gonna be Elizabeth Warren as opposed to any of the others like Bernie or anybody like that.
So why not Bernie?
It's time for a woman, is all. I mean, Bernie's over and done. Didn't do it the last time. Elizabeth has more energy. I think she's got more intelligence. So
I think more people can relate to her, and I like that she's a woman, and she's very smart. She's very sharp. I mean, I'm not sure any of them are quite as smart as she is.
Bernie's a great guy and he's fought really hard, but I just don't think that people are going to elect someone of that age, unfortunately. And it would be great to see a woman president. I think that this country elected Barack Obama, the first African-American president. We can't elect the first woman. I think that's where this country needs to go.
Notice how not one of these people gave a straight answer as to why they prefer Elizabeth Warren over Bernie Sanders. And the ones who did actually answer the question, it wasn't based on policy. I mean, one of them said, it's time for a woman. I mean, sure, a woman in the White House would be cool. I suggest Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, not Elizabeth Warren, not Kamala Harris, and certainly not Hillary Clinton. I'm really sorry that Bernie Sanders doesn't have a vagina, but Bernie Sanders, what he does have is a comprehensive healthcare plan. He wants to give you free healthcare. He wants to give you free college. He wants to reform the criminal justice system. Bernie Sanders has been doing this for 40 years. He's been fighting the good fight for 40 years. And the other guy who's going like, oh my God, Elizabeth Warren is more electable than Bernie Sanders. Like, what? What do you base that off of? Okay. What are you trying to say? Are you saying that Bernie Sanders' base doesn't capture enough people? Because this is a myth. Okay. Elizabeth Warren's base is about 71% white. Bernie Sanders' base is America. It's diverse. He scores the highest among Latino voters. He's got the second biggest black voter base after Joe Biden. It's not a 71% white base like Warren's is. Okay, Bernie is a people's champion. Bernie's for everyone. Now, again, let's stick to the policy substance because none of these answers answered the question. None of them had any substance. None of them talk about policy. Elizabeth Warren just isn't there. If you guys want to talk about healthcare, okay, I took another look at her website. It's very vague. It's very bad. Okay, she talks about Medicare for all, but she never cites Bernie Sanders' bill. She says she's going to make it affordable, and she says no one is going to go broke, but she doesn't say that it's going to be free at the point of service, which is just how it works in all the other developed countries on earth, and which is what Bernie Sanders is trying to get accomplished. So there's vague language and she won't commit. How can you trust someone who won't come out and commit and say, yes, I am for Medicare for all, for this bill, exactly for this, that you don't pay anything at the point of service, that you are not going to be burdened by medical debt, that I'm going to cancel your medical debt. She's not saying that. She's using vague language so she can kind of wiggle her way around and be like, oh yeah, I'm for Medicare for all, but not really. Bernie Sanders takes no shit. Bernie Sanders is a straight shooter. He tells you, I'm going for Medicare for all. This is what it stands for. You are not going to pay anything for medical care anymore. I'm going to cancel all your debt. It's free at the point of service and it has universal coverage. That's it. Elizabeth Warren is not saying that. Go on her website right now. Don't believe me? Go on her website. Read it for yourself. It's vague language and she won't commit. Now, this is very concerning because she's a co-sponsor of Bernie Sanders' Medicare for all bill. But guess who else is? Kamala Harris, and I think Cory Booker, and they didn't seem too keen on it. Now, listen, to Elizabeth Warren's credit, okay, she has defended Medicare for all on stage with Bernie. You remember when they shot down Biden at the last debates? That was dope. But Elizabeth Warren usually does come out in support of Medicare for all. When they press her, she pushes back against all these corporate media talking points where it's like, oh, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? And all these myths and the lies that the moderators try to put in the question framing and that the other candidates try to spew. So she was there with Bernie, okay? On stage, she defends Medicare for all. So I give her credit for that. But, dude, we need policy. We need substance. And she's not committing. She took long enough to even say Medicare for all. But now we go on her website and I don't trust someone who won't commit. You're running for the highest office in the goddamn country. You need to be specific. You need to be clear on what you stand for and what you represent. You can't just wiggle your way around. But of course, I doubt her voters even know this. I was confused about this until today. I had thought that, yes, she supports Medicare for all. She co-sponsored the bill. She said she supports Medicare for all. But then you read the fine print and no bueno. The other big thing that really irks me about Elizabeth Warren is that she said she will take corporate money in the general. So now in the primary, the Democratic primary, she won't take any corporate money. It's all small donations. But then in the general election, so if she gets the nomination and she's running against Donald Trump, she said she will take corporate money. She said this on TYT when she was being interviewed by Cenk Uygur. She said, I don't believe in unilateral disarmament. Okay, listen, man. The number one rule of being a progressive is no corporate money. This is a big no. This is X. Canceled. You are not a progressive if you take corporate money. It doesn't work. Those two things are mutually exclusive. They're incompatible. So for her to come out and say like, oh yeah, I'm going to take corporate money in the general because, no, there is no because. There is no justification for this. None. You are not a progressive if you take corporate money. It just doesn't work. Those are incompatible things. And so this, for me, man, this is the biggest turnoff. You can't, look, if she says, I'm not going to take corporate money because I know that money corrupts politicians, it is a bad influence. That means she is aware, she understands that money in politics is bad. So why would she then do that in the general if she knows that it's a bad thing? Man, she can't be trusted. I'm sorry. It hurts me to say this. And it hurts me when I found out these things about her because I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? I expected better. And then you have the whole issue about foreign policy. The way she voted on Trump's bloated military budget back in September 2018, which gave the military another $80 billion. Why did she vote yes on this? Let me tell you why. Because Elizabeth Warren has no foreign policy plan. Okay, when it comes to foreign policy, she's there with the war machine. She's going to beat the war drums, okay? Because, look, she votes for giving the military-industrial complex what they want. More contracts, more profits. And she doesn't care that, we're going to go and bomb more countries or we're just going to keep this oil machine, we're going to keep oiling this war machine. She doesn't care about that. You know what she cares about? Why she voted for this military bill? Because in her state, in Massachusetts, the military-industrial complex employs about 100,000 people. That's a lot of jobs. That is a lot of jobs. Okay, the Department of Defense invests heavily in Massachusetts. The military-industrial complex has a lot of jobs there. And so she She's like, yo, if I don't vote yes for this bill and get this money into my state, my constituents probably won't reelect me. And I won't, get elected to, I probably won't become president. So she's a people pleaser, and she's pleasing the wrong kind of people, man. And it's very disturbing because when you look at the logic of it, what she is saying, is that, what her motives seem to be is that, the jobs in my state are more important than the lives of the brown people that we're going to go and bomb afterwards with this money. What kind of logic is that? Guess who voted no to this bill? Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is a principled, consistent politician. And that is the one person you could ever say that phrase about, as if there ever was an honest politician. But I'm serious. Like, Bernie Sanders is a rock. Bernie Sanders is a rock. He does not budge. Bernie Sanders is the definition of consistency, okay? Bernie Sanders is the same. He had the same opinion 40 years ago, and he's going to have the same opinion in 40 years. It's never going to change. Bernie Sanders is Bernie Sanders. We know what he represents. We know what he's fighting for. We know that he is a champion. I don't know that about other politicians because they keep on proving the contrary, okay? Elizabeth Warren won't commit to Medicare for all. She says Medicare for all, but when you read the fine print on her own website, she does not provide the same kind of comprehensive healthcare plan that Bernie Sanders does. It's not there. When it comes to foreign policy, disastrous. She's in favor of currying favor with the military-industrial complex, of keeping the war machine going, and that's it. And the worst one, taking corporate money in the general, this is absurd. You cannot call yourself a progressive and then go and take corporate money. You can't do that. That's a sin. Okay, if you're progressive, no, you swear off of corporate money as a progressive. This is insane that you even contemplate such a thing. So I'm really disheartened by these voters that they showed in this video. This is just pathetic. Has the left learned nothing from pursuing identity politics? What is this thing about, she's a woman? Tulsi Gabbard is a woman. Why don't you vote for her? Oh, because she's anti-war? What, she ain't good enough for you? She's also anti-corruption. She doesn't take corporate money. She supports Medicare for all. Why don't you vote for her? I don't think it's because you like a woman in the White House. You just don't know what you're talking about, and you were misinformed. And it's very unfortunate because you should be informed more than ever, especially in an election like this, when you have someone like Bernie Sanders running, when you have someone like Tulsi Gabbard running. So the left playing identity politics as usual. Have you learned nothing from 2016? Remember Hillary Clinton's slogan, "I'm with her"? Well, apparently no one was with her. Not enough people were with her, okay? You know why? Because Hillary Clinton represented the status quo. Hillary Clinton represented no change. And I'm sorry to say, but that's definitely the case with Joe Biden, and I think it's going to be the case with Elizabeth Warren, because if she is not coming out and fighting tooth and nail for Medicare for all and to, restructure this country just like Bernie Sanders will, then it's not good enough. It's not good enough. Yes, she's wonderful on tax reform. Yes, she's wonderful on Wall Street, but it's not enough. We don't want someone who's just, interested in fixing the economy. We want someone who's interested in giving people health care. Someone who's going to stop these useless wars. Okay? Someone who is immune to the corruption of corporate money. You can't trust a politician who takes corporate money. You know why? Because when their phone rings and it's you on the line, they're not going to take the call. But when their corporate masters ring the phone, they will take the call and they'll do what they want them to. And that is a risk you simply cannot take. No. Dude, do I even need to say that Elizabeth Warren's ideas, 99% of them come from Bernie? She literally just stole most of his plans. And they're still not good enough. They're still not good enough. She's like, oh yeah, I want to make college free. Great. I want to cancel student debt, but I'm only going to cancel 95%. Why not just cancel all of it? Why would you leave? Why? What kind of stupidity is that? Bernie Sanders is like, yo, we out this bitch. 100%, all of it is gone, because that's how it should be. Give back the purchasing power to millennials. Let them participate in the economy. Let them buy houses. Let them buy cars. Let them settle down and have a family, instead of just keeping this enormous debt burning a hole in the country's deficit. This is madness. Other countries don't do this shit. And the same thing with healthcare. Not only is Bernie Sanders, he wrote the damn bill, for Medicare for all, but he's also going as far as to cancel the medical debt of everyone in this country. It's retroactive, because if you give everyone coverage, that's great, but people are still going to be burdened by this medical debt, which they shouldn't have had in the first place. For what? For the crime of being sick? You think people go to the fucking hospital for fun? You think people get fucking cancer for fun? No one asked for that shit. Other countries don't do this. Don't sit there and tell me that this is right. Don't sit there and tell me that this corrupt system is justifiable in any fucking way. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. Other civilized countries don't do this because it's grotesque. Healthcare is a human right. All our neighbors and allies have figured this shit out, except us. So now we need someone who's going to fight for that, someone who's been fighting for that. Bernie Sanders went out and raised the minimum wage for Amazon workers, for Disney workers, for Walmart workers. This guy, man, there are so many things about Bernie Sanders that I discovered. I was amazed. This guy in the 90s went and bought shares for IBM so he could go to the shareholders meeting and yell at them because they were treating the workers unfairly. And this is what he did with Walmart recently. He bought a few shares so he could go to the shareholder meeting and tell them to raise the goddamn wages of their workers. So what I'm trying to say is that Bernie is in the trenches until now and has been in the trenches fighting for regular working class people. Look, man, what it boils down to, Bernie Sanders is a real Rolex and Elizabeth Warren is not. She's just a good-looking knockoff.